what HAARP's done, well, it's been anomalies that's popped up that we're going to get into here with you live today and tell you what's coming your way, and also present solutions as well for these problems that are going to be occurring. So stay tuned. And also, the neural weapon systems are being deployed. Thanks for tuning in.
Working in tandem, these transmitters could potentially alter the weather anywhere in the world, changing the jet stream's course entirely, triggering massive rainstorms or droughts, heating up the atmosphere, and building up high-pressure domes that could...
Good evening. Summer has finally delivered Melbourne's hottest day of the year.
After 2 hot days and then the hottest day today, it is a dangerous situation.
The mercury reached 37.3 degrees at 10 to 5 this afternoon. Extreme temperature is a silent killer.
Heat kills more Australians than any other natural disaster.
A timely reminder that children and the elderly are our most vulnerable.
And the same thing is coming for America. We're going to break that down. Why, how, and when.
The U.S. government is firm in its position that HAARP is just an atmospheric research facility. But is it more than coincidence that since going online, some experts have reported strange weather anomalies, including massive floods, hurricanes, and earthquakes? There are reportedly a total of 5 known ionospheric heaters, including HAARP, in the world today. There are possibly 20 other ionospheric heaters in existence all over the world.
Firstly, yesterday we exposed that particles that's dropping that are called sulfate particles, they're now coming out with reports saying that some type of thing like satellites are connected to them. And then we showed you the video as well of how these things move. So the thing is what we're potentially looking at is potential neural weapon systems being put inside the snow, being put inside the rain. And HAARP does these things, obviously, along with geoengineering programs with the military. And look at how they're moving there. Like, it looks parasitic almost in its own way, which, again, if it's nanotechnology, it's not parasitic, but they also program parasites as well. And the new century of warfare was war on the mind. Now, we're going to show these magnetic anomalies that's popped up before all this weird stuff started happening. We're going to show you what areas will be potentially affected, not potentially will be affected by what's coming. So basically, we just got out of this super huge snowstorm scenario. And then next, we'll have this other thing coming. But before we get to that, it's a neuroscientist talking about how aerosols can congest you and all these different things in the atmosphere, like we was telling you, people who was getting affected by this stuff. So let's take a listen to this before we get into all the different scenarios that happened specifically on the 27th when HAARP was firing up and how it's linking to things that's happening now. First, before we play this video, we have to actually put the audio on so you can hear what he's saying. So back to it now. This is a neuroscience talking about the future warfare weapons.
That the brain is and will be the 21st century battlescape in many ways. End of story. Science, as a titular field, as a named field, neuroscience has only been in existence for 40 years. I know that because I've been a neuroscientist for about 38 of those. Is that nanoparticulate matter can be stabilized for distribution. If you're not aware of what nanoparticulate matter is, it's that matter which exists on a scale of 1 × 10⁹. Very, very small. Smaller than a cell. And we can manufacture materials that have discrete properties that can be controlled by virtue of bioengineering and their physical chemistry. I can create small robotic units, controllable robotic units at the nanoscale, and that these too can be aerosolized to create a nanoswarm of biopenetrable materials that you cannot see, that can penetrate all but the most robust biochemical filters, that are able to integrate themselves through a variety of membranes, mucous membranes, and wherever, mouth, nose, ears, eyes, can be then uptaken into the vascular system to create clumping, can affect the vascular system of the brain, or can directly diffuse into the brain space, and these can be weaponized. And they can be done in such a level that their presence is almost impossible to detect, and as such, the attribution becomes exceedingly difficult to demonstrate. We've come to the precarious position of opening the proverbial can of worms of if, how, in what.
Okay, so basically saying that within these systems, within these particles that they're dropping is another elaborate system that is satellites, could be used as tracking systems and everything else, and obviously for targeting systems. But we're going to get to the higher situation here. We looked into the magnetometer. People are showing the Fluxgate magnetometer, which detects small changes in the magnetic field. As you can see right here, you were looking at December 21st, which looked at pretty stable. And then next thing you know, we go to December 27. Look how unstable it looked. Look at the chart there. And we also show where it was a magnetic anomaly that had nothing to do with the so-called asteroid bounce. Meanwhile, all these little crystalline things started showing up. And here's Alaska specifically where they start showing up. And then they were showing up in a lot of other areas as well. But the Alaska one was specifically on the 27th. And here it is right here. It says Alaska has shared, Crystal Leon of Delta shared multiple photos on the 27th when the same day HAARP was firing up. And you're going to say, well, why the heck are you showing this? Because it's something else bigger. Also, someone who watches the channel brought in a photo as well of a beam that was seen in the sky here. So here's the beam that was being seen emitting. So all this was the 27th popping up, where all these little crystalline things are popping up in the atmosphere. And we know that the atmosphere is now being altered at its highest forms and levels. So that led me to a model. I was like, well, people are going to want to know, okay, what's the bigger situation here and why is this situation happening? And we're getting down to basically what's going to be happening. They heated up the sky. So when we're looking at this model here, this is what's happening. They're shooting up the high powered waves, which they did, and its effects to that on your health, which we're going to get to, but how you can also beat that. The heater goes up, right? It reflects the waves and then it bounces back down. And we get hit by the waves when it bounces back down. So if you feel these waves, that's because it's a reflection. I went into the situation here and we're about to get into what's happening, what's coming pretty much. And you're going to be seeing this in the pretty much atmospheres, the weather and everything else. Australia isn't the only place that's going to be seeing super hot temperature. So we basically going to go from a winter storm to now a heat wave. That's what's literally going to happen. And we're going to show you right here how this is going to be looking. So if you're in these areas, it says from December 27. Oh, wow. That's just so strange that it just, when HAARP was firing up on December 27, we just get this issue that day. And it's going to go all the way from January 2nd to the 6th. And basically, this is what we're going to be seeing. And on the other side, we're going to be seeing huge snow. So it's really crazy that all this is happening. And we give you the map a little bit closer here. Long time ago, they came out and said U.S. developed weapon system may cause global warming instead of, it being the, oh, well, it's happening now. But, oh, the weapon system of HAARP could cause that same scenario. Wouldn't that be crazy? So, oh, another thing is we wanted to, before we get into the rest of the video and what's going on with HAARP, Mike Grass, where you at? Because you was talking about how you on this channel was basically going to come out and then show in your investigation how the water and stuff, like you started seeing some weird stuff around there, and you was talking about all this. So everybody wants to see this experiment that you're talking about. So I mean, if you want to see the experiment that he's talking about, he's construction with the water and stuff like that, say yes right now if you're ready to see that, because we haven't heard from him. And if he shows up in the comments, that'll be great. And if you're live right now, can we get as many likes as people live? Like, let's get as many likes as people actually watching the video, because that's going to boost it out. And then a lot of comment interaction is going to boost it out too, because we're finna get to the part where the health effects happen. So if these beams are shooting up into the atmosphere, guess what? I found a study that talks about exactly what these beams are doing. This study talks about a twisted beam. Twisted beam observation, ionic sphere heating from HAARP, nonlinear interaction of high power, high frequency waves in the ionosphere provide aeronomers with unique space-based laboratory capabilities. High Frequency Active Aurora Research Program in Gacona, Alaska is the world's largest heating facility, yielding effective radiated powers in gigawatt range. New results are present from HAARP experiments using twisted beam excitation mode. Analysis of twisted beam heating shows that SEE results obtain identical to more traditional patterns. One difference in the twisted beam mode is heating. The heating region produced is the shape of a ring as opposed to the more traditional solid spot region from a pencil beam. The ring heating pattern may be more conductive to the creation of stable artificial airglow layers because of the horizontal structure of the ring. Results of these runs include artificial layer creation and evolution pertaining to twisted beam pattern. So we're talking about the patterns you would see in the sky. And we just showed the beam a few seconds ago that everybody was seeing different beams and stuff like this. So again, we're telling you that they're getting ready to deploy more heat upon us. And it was a strange video. I don't know if this video is even real or not, but we're about to go let you see it, where it looks like something is like pretending to be the sun, but it's not the sun. And the video's out on Twitter or whatever, and then next thing you know, they zoom in and they notice that it's not the sun, and it like multiple objects is around it. So I don't know what the heck that was, but whatever it was, if it's even real, it's pretending to be the sun. And so HAARP now, we're going to this next level. Okay, why did HAARP shoot those things into the atmosphere? And it was called like a heat dome is exactly what it's called. So as we move further into the study, we talk about how is it going to affect us in different ways. Appreciate that super chat there. Let's talk about this right now. The different sources of electromagnetic fields, dangers are not limited to physical health. This is put out already, and it specifically names HAARP. So have you ever noticed that barium and aluminum, when you put it together, is Bel? Well, how evil is that, ain't it? Moving back into the study though, real quick. In this study, it says the impact of electromagnetic waves on health has been clearly established in many studies in recent decades. No state, with the exemption of Russia, takes real precautions in terms of standards for the population, conflicts of interest, phones, Bluetooth base stations come into play. A system such as HAARP, Frequency Active Aurora Research Program, as well directed wave beams related to past whatever scandals must be analyzed and considered in a comprehensive way to understand why the wave level is only increasing despite the considerable amount of scientific work demonstrating the standards are not adequate to maintain public health. Thus, official documents show the impact of electromagnetic waves is not only physical and biological. Indeed, the climate and the behavior of the population are also targeted. And it goes down in the bottom, it says neurodegenerative disease. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look into their studies about how when HAARP shoots the heat waves up, what happens and how can we protect ourselves. So this is specifically what happens here. You start having memory issues and all this other stuff. Weird things start to happen. And it's ways though, you want to ask the question, okay, well, how would you protect your neurons from all this stuff? Well, there are specific herbs for that we're going to talk about here in just a second. So remember, there's 7 of them they talk about here. You got turmeric, ashwagandha, you got ginkgo, bilbio, however you say that word. But again, I do this because, and we're going to get into here the non-protective herbs and foods from different traditional methods. So it's another one here specifically, and it's salvia officinalis. So you need to pause the video right here, and then you need to like write this down if you have to. It's an important genus consisting of around 900 species. They recommended it for warning and contractions for cough, hoarseness, for labor pains, ulcers at the end of the 17th century. The physician, botanists recommend many sage preparations from different geographical origins for the treatment of weak brain to strengthen memory. So this is important here that you take this information, and we're going to go into the next one here. That's highly important. The next one is ginkgo biloba. And it says as a treatment for vascular insufficiency and to improve longevity, whereas seeds are used and astringent for the lung to treat illness like asthma and chronic bronchitis, which I told you the sulfate particles, the sulfur particles ends up making you have all these different situations happen. All the studies show that this is what's happening. We got another one we're gonna pull out for you. So you need to pause these and write all these down literally, and then take them and then go look it up and try to get the best version of them. Don't go to Walmart and be like, oh, Walmart is gonna help me. How many of y'all are going to Walmart? How many of y'all going to Walmart and getting some stuff thinking you're gonna be healed? You need to stop that. Anyway, ginseng, and they talk about the root of it, and they talk about the real version of it. And so this is another one widely being used that can help with a lot of these situations happening. So you understand that they're dispersing these things on us. We have to have the health system to be able to fight back. I appreciate that other super chat there as well. And I do this because when I was 21, I literally was in the hospital with ulcers in all these situations, and almost the medical industry could have took me out, literally. So when I was there, I was like, I never want to be here again. I literally thought I was going to die. Like, I just basically said, it's all over. And then something in my head said, no, it's not all over. And then at that moment right there, I knew that I had to re-heal myself. And so I researched actually to save my life, to bring myself back on track. And it's just that knowledge, that power right there to help individuality, like that research that we can do, is how we get to the next level. So when I do this and I come out and put these videos out about HAARP and I tell you about all this stuff and I'm telling you like to protect yourself, it's helping you and it's helping me at the same time. So this is the real scenario. So what we need to do here is, if we can, I put all this in the compilation of videos and I have that link to the one to the next side. Or if you can, like this, share it, let's look at as many as likes, like I said, as many people watching this video, keep thumbing it up. Keep putting comment interactions in, share it out far and wide, because it's up to us really to help people out throughout this whole system of magnetic attacks on us. And if each individual could say, hey, here's a video to somebody, here's this, you need to learn this right here, you need to look at this, this is what's going to help you out. This is really the true value in the world that we have to share. So I did 2 or 3 other videos following up to this, getting even deeper for people who didn't tune in, and that video will be on the left. Thank you for all tuning in. We'll have a lot more coming. Knowledge is power. And when we share that knowledge, we share that power. Thanks for tuning in.